Lists have some powerful methods associated with them, and I'm going to demonstrate several of those with you now. But first of all, I want to emphasize again, I've mentioned these earlier in the course, but repetition is a great principle of learning. Dir and help. These are helpful tools from the Python command line that can help us learning about our objects and learning about Python. So we're going to look at that, at dir and help, and we'll see some of these methods, and then we will jump into actually using them and showing some examples. So here we have our previous list, car, 5, tree, 11.6, 1, 2, 3, true. This is the list we'll be working with. Well, if we do dir on my list, we can see these are the available attributes. Remember, with this dunder method is what those lines are, as well as our methods, which do not have those underscores. So starting here and going all the way over down to here are the available methods on a list. We can also do dir on the list data type. We see how this is a different color. This is a purple. That's a reserved keyword. And that will show us the same thing because my list is a list. So either way will work. We can also do help on my list, and we can actually select one of these methods. So we could do my list dot pop, and we see that shows us some help on the pop method. We see that the default value here is the last item in the list, index of -1. It will pop the last item that's by default, and it will remove and return the item at that index. So if we want to access that value or save it to another variable, pop will give us that last element in the list back, and we could assign that to another variable if we so desire. So just wanted to remind you about the dir and help functions. We could also do help on just my list. Actually, maybe not. Actually, yes. We see it just squeezed the text. There we go. So look at all this here. It's lots of documentation, and we can easily read about that. So very, very helpful. Okay, let's start over with our clear screen here. We've defined our list. Let's try some of these methods. We can do my list dot reverse. And we can see it reverses all of the elements from last to first. We can do, I want to go back to our slide here. We could do mylist.sort. And this sorts the list alphabetically or numerically. However, they need to be the same type. So we can't sort a list that contains both integers and strings, for example. But that can be useful for us. We can add elements to the list with append, and we can add, let's add false. This appends to the end of the list. So we've now added false to the end of the list. We can add elements at a given position in the lists with insert. And here we see we need to first indicate which index, and it will be inserted before the index, and then our object we want to insert. So let's insert something after 11.6. So that's the index position 0, 1, 2. So let's insert it before 11.6, so before 2. So our index will be 2, and then we can insert, let's say, 100. The value 100. Now we see we've inserted the value 100 before that position. Let's come over here and look at a few other useful methods. We can express the length. That's one of these attributes of the list. So print the length of my list. How many elements are in my list? There are 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that can definitely be very useful. Let's end off with let's do pop and count. mylist.pop. And this, if we look at the help for this, by default, as we've mentioned, it will pop the last element. So if we just do pop, and it returns it, as we see here. So it's removed that and returned it for us. So we could say new var is assigned and then do mylist.pop. And that would have stored the value false in there, in that new var. If we print our list now, we see it no longer contains false, which was that last element. We can also pop or remove items from a specific index if we change this parameter. So we could pop the first element in the list by specifying the 0th index position. So we'll pop true off of the list. Now let's print our list. And we see there's no longer true represented there. Our first element is this other nested list. Lastly, we can count occurrences of a specific value. Mylist.count. Let's count how many occurrences of tree there are. There's 1. For the sake of showing you more about this, let's append tree again. Lists can contain duplicates. Let's print that. So we see we have tree here and tree here. Let's count tree again. Now we see there are 2 instances of tree. So we'll end with that on this lecture. A lot of useful methods. We have not covered them all that we can use with lists that just make them that much more powerful for us.